this is going to go, guys. Haven't done it in a while, a little rusty, a little out of practice. You know, when you don't do something for a long time, you start questioning yourself. Can I get as excited? Can I get as enthusiastic? Can I put my all in what I used to put my all into? Do I still have it in me to say, what's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and this is indeed your October 4th, 2022, say it loud, say it proud, NXT review. What is going on, guys? This is where we found out, didn't we? This is where we said NXT kind of sucked for a bit there. They made it into a rainbow unicorn fart, and they never really looked back. But now I'm going to say it because I know it bugs a lot of people. Papa H is back. We've taken a half step back. It's a little bit of a half measure. It's a little bit of, you know, the old and the new put together. It's not quite black and gold because it's the black and gold and white logo, and it's a different color logo of the new 2.0 logo without the 2.0 on it because that was dumb. I was going to have to come up here and be NXT 3.gold, but I didn't have to do that because we just don't have to do that. Now, let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. First of all, the place didn't look that different. The PC didn't look that different. They have rearranged the seating. They have escalated the seating so that the crowd looks a bit bigger. The color scheme is all different. It's people are comparing it to Flaming Cheetos because we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel for insults. Are we not? But it's this it's all the fire colors. It's the yellow and the white and the black, mostly with some orange and dark orange and a little bit of red mixed in, but it's still better than the rainbow bullshit. I really hope they fix the belts. That's they've gone back to the white ropes, which is a big thing because they had the blue ropes there for a while, which just made it look like SmackDown. I will say, and this is the smallest, littlest criticism. This is the smallest thing that doesn't matter of all the small things that doesn't matter. They need the NXT turnbuckles back. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but it was different. When you looked at the NXT ring, now I could go yellow ropes, white ropes. I know they saved white ropes for TakeOver when TakeOver was a thing. I don't mind them not bringing back the yellow ropes because that has a little bit of a neon effect. I would really like if they went back to having the black canvas because that gave the show a different feel as well. But I miss NXT turnbuckles, and I know that's the stupidest thing in the world. I'm fully aware, and everybody's like, well, none of the other shows have it. Why would they do it for NXT? Here's the thing, and let's lean in really, really close, and I'll whisper so that it can be a little secret between you and me. I wouldn't mind if they did SmackDown turnbuckles. I wouldn't mind if they did Raw turnbuckles. I would love it. And here's something I'm not going to give very much credit to AEW in this review because it's an NXT review. I love the fact that you get full gear turnbuckles and all out turnbuckles, and yeah, I think they've had sponsors on the turnbuckles too, but that's neither here nor there. I would love WrestleMania turnbuckles. I know it's a really weird thing for me to focus on, and for a look that's kind of halfway because I said, sorry, I'm going to be all over the map for the first little bit here. I said when they revamped the CWC into the NXT thing, and we didn't know that it was going to look all pukey and coloring book style and all that. When they were just showing the original commercials, just sort of showed like a blueprint of what the new arena was going to look like. I thought it looked kind of cool. It was bigger than Full Sail. The more elaborate entranceway and all that kind of thing wasn't bad, and they haven't changed that very much, other than I think they've elevated it a little bit. But it was more so the color, which is weird. They took away the things that made the ring unique, because you can put you can put LED stuff around the outside of the ring. You can change the ring skirt like they do for Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-views, etc. The fact that NXT matches happened on a black canvas was a big thing. And I'm sorry, the much smaller thing, as I said once again, and I'm going to get off it, I promise, they need to get NXT turnbuckles. They just do. That's my opinion. Commentary was a little different tonight. Vic Joseph is apparently caught in customs or something like that. I don't know whether that's an actual thing. I know he got married recently to, what is it, Mackenzie Mitchell? So he's winning at life, even though he's getting picked on by Wade Barrett every week. So we had the return of Byron Saxton for the night, which was kind of cool because he got to speak about being there for the early days of NXT and what it meant to her. And I'm going to mispronounce this name, and I apologize in advance, but Sudu Shah, who I believe does commentary for NXT Level Up. I don't watch NXT Level Up. I don't watch NXT Level Up for the same reason that I don't watch Dark Elevation, because it feels like just extra content, and it feels like, without being a dickhead about it, if they're doing something right, they'll end up on the main show, or if they are people from the main show, I'll see them on the main show. Now, getting into the show itself, now what is the characteristics of old NXT versus new NXT? New NXT had like really, really cartoony characters and way too many goofy gimmicks and whatever, and there was less of that in NXT Black and Gold. So it wasn't very hopeful when we started off the night with Pretty Deadly's State of the Commonwealth address. Now, there's a whole bunch of people that are telling me this is a really bad thing to do because of the Queen just passing away and all that kind of thing. I don't know enough about the politics on that side of the world to comment on it, so I'm not going to. They came out in overly exuberant, stereotypical, like, British stuff. Like, they had the white wigs and the jackets that look like capes and all that kind of thing. I do get the people that are bugged by this. It's the same as every time they used to do a Raw in London, then they would put like a phone box on the rampway because it was just like, UK phone box. It's on the surface. It's Pretty Deadly though. Like, they are a pretty campy, kind of get the fuck off my TV screen type of group. Anyways, they run down the entire division. They talk about how they should just be declared as the forever champions after talking about how shit the tag team division is, which isn't great. And they're interrupted by the Brawling Brutes. Now, if this had not been announced in advance on Monday Night Raw, that would have been really cool. But they did announce it on Monday Night Raw because they're trying to drive more people to the show, especially the new revamped version of the show. So I'll take that. I would have liked it to be a surprise, but that's just me. I was going to watch it. Anyway, I don't know if this is something they've just done and mocked up for NXT this week, but they have different music. It's still pretty stereotypical Irish music because they're led by Sheamus, but they have new music and it's kind of cool. Butch, obviously Pete Dunne, obviously gets bruiserweight chants from the crowd, and they beat the shit out of Pretty Deadly because apparently Pretty Deadly laughed at Sheamus for getting his ass kicked 3-on-1 last week on SmackDown. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, quick plug, the last video on this channel, or the last pod on this podcast, will be my most recent episode of WWE last week. There won't be one this week because we're going to be previewing Extreme Rules, but I did go into the 3-on-1 beatdown on Sheamus on SmackDown, and the fact that his friends weren't there because of the storm in Florida leads me to say one more time, everybody within the sound of my voice, if you happen to be affected by the storms that are happening in Florida, or in PEI for that matter, for my Canadian listeners, please know my thoughts are with you. I wish I could say more than just my thoughts are with you, because that sounds really trite and contrived, but hope you're doing okay. If you've chosen to listen to this podcast, I hope I'm giving you a distraction for at least a couple of minutes. But yeah, so there was Pretty Deadly on Twitter talking shit about Sheamus, and that's why the Brawling Brutes are here. It gets announced later on in the night that they've earned themselves a title shot by doing that, which I will admit is a little... Okay, you're not even on the show, but you're going to get a title shot anyway, which is really shady considering the shit that they just did with Solo Sikoa and the North American Championship. That's not great. I'm going to try and... I'm super positive on, I really hope this version of NXT is better, but I'm going to try and balance it out with, okay, that's a bit shit. I said it on Twitter. Before the show even started. I think I said it like 1 minute before the show started. I said, I used to be the main NXT guy. You guys know NXT used to be the flagpole review on this channel. I used to be an NXT guy. I want to be an NXT guy again. I need this new version of NXT to be good. And it didn't set the world on fire, but it gave me enough that I'll be watching next week. And of course it helps that we are in October, which generally puts me in a better mood anyway because it's Halloween season, and because they finally decided that it was a good idea a couple years ago, it means we're in Halloween Havoc season, and Halloween Havoc won't just be a weekly episode of NXT, which is all good, which puts me in a great mood, which puts me in the mood to put all of this in a really, really positive context. In the back, we see Toxic Attraction show up because they're supposed to have a trios match against Nikita Lyons, Zoe Starks, and Alba Fire. But Gigi Dolan and JC Jane get out of the limo. They get attacked by the Bat. And then Alba Fire, I hate that name, I'm not going to lie, I wish it was still Kaylee Ray. She hops in the limo with Mandy Rose, and the limo drives off with her beating up Mandy Rose in it. Later on, after the next match, it's announced that that match will no longer be a trios match because two of the competitors aren't in it anymore. The remaining competitors are going to compete in a #1 contendership match for the Women's Tag Team Championship. It's going to be Gigi Dolan and JC Jane versus Nikita Lyons and Zoe Starks in a #1 contenders match later on tonight, which is lovely. Carmelo Hayes with Trick Williams by his side is taking on Oro Mensah. This is obviously to build up to the 5-way ladder match for the North American Championship at Halloween Havoc. Now, I'm going to say what I said a couple weeks ago on WWE last week. This could have been done better. The fact that we put it on Solo Sikoa to carry it onto SmackDown for one night so that he would have a belt for the photo op in the Logan Paul thing, to drop it back to NXT, not give it back to Carmelo Hayes, and then throw it into this match is very, very contrived. But also, it's gonna be fucking great. And the history of the North American Championship, specifically in ladder matches, from day one, is there. So it is a historical nod. They could have gotten there better. Carmelo Hayes, Trick Williams, taking on Oro Mensah, who's the guy who just debuted a week or so ago. I like what I see from him so far. I'm going to say what I always say. Carmelo Hayes, as much as I want him to get his title back because the way he lost it was kind of shitty, I also want to see him on the main roster. The dude is main roster ready. I want to see him mix it up with Ricochet again. I want to see him mix it up with guys like Montez Ford, etc., etc., etc. Oro Mensah has some really interesting kicks, like some, I would say, not the same way as Rob Van Dam, but the way we used to say that Rob Van Dam has educated feet and he'd get you from a way that you didn't think it was. Very the same here. Like, there's a lot of reverse kicks, like mule kicks types things, kicks that involve flips and full body type impact and all that kind of thing. Very athletic, very hard hitting match. Great further introduction for Oro Mensah because this is literally the second match I've ever seen him in. And it kind of goes back to Carmelo Hayes. Like, the second match we ever saw Carmelo Hayes in was the exhibition between him and Adam Cole, baby. So now he's become the guy. It's like, okay, we're already putting this guy in the ring with Carmelo Hayes. He must be doing something right. Carmelo Hayes, at one point in this match, hit a no-look springboard lariat off the second rope, which was fucking great. Cartwheel kick and a lion salt by Mensah. Top rope leg drop by Carmelo. Still gets the win. And then he goes on, because they've been talking about it on commentary, he's on a losing streak. He lost his belt and then he lost one match against Andre Chase. That's not a streak, that's literally 2 matches. But he grabs the headset on commentary and says, losing streak where? And he says, I think I'm going to stick around for the next match. Next match, it was what it was. Not 2 of the more exciting characters on the show, if you want my honest to God opinion. Andre Chase versus Von Wagner. Andre Chase is a guy that's entertaining as a character. I could do with never seeing him in the ring, which is never really great. He's out there with Bodie Hayward and Thea Hale. Von Wagner is out there with Robert Stone, who's now going by Mr. Stone, which is very Vince, is it not? Just a big beat down by Vaughn until Chase hits him with a leg stunner. Vaughn continues to beat him up, hits him with a twisting slam. Chase continues to try and work the leg. Thea Hale body slams Mr. Stone on the outside, but that doesn't really help Chase very much because Vaughn kills him and gets the win. Von Wagner is going to be in the ladder match. I don't know what to think about that. Now, there's always, or at least most of the time, there's been guys like Lars Sullivan, like Killian Dane in the ladder match that never really seem like they belong in the ladder match. So maybe Von Wagner is going to show us something. I will put the positive vibes and the positive outlook out there, but it's on him now to show me that. After the match, Wesley attacks Carmelo on commentary, and he gets the crap. They beat the crap out of each other. In the back, Sanga is talking to Nathan Frazier about his match 3 of 3 with Axiom next week. I said it on WWE last week, I said that I thought it was this week because I did think it was this week. I was wrong. Sanga wishes he was in the ladder match, but he says, if I can't be in the match, then I wish you good luck in your match next week, and I wish you good luck in that ladder match. And as Nathan Frazier's leaving, in comes Veer Mahan. So Veer and Sanga maybe putting Indus back together. Who knows, who knows, who knows. Wendy Chu versus Lash Legend was not good. I like Wendy Chu. They're doing this hinting on commentary that she has a sort of a dark side to her. So if she goes back to sort of 50-50 being like sleepy Wendy Chu, but also being the 1,000-year-old dragon lady, I'll be all for that. Lash Legend is kind of terrible. And that's all I'm going to say, because if I say anything else, people are going to yell at me on Twitter. Top rope splash for the win for Chu, so at least Lash Legend didn't get a win. And then we cut right to the back, where Wesley's talking about how much he wants the championship at Halloween Havoc, but also how much he wants to get his hands on Carmelo Hayes. And then in walks Stax. I can't do the Stax voice because I'm not Adam Wilborn. Obviously, they're playing up from last week what we all know in the taped show, the injury to Tony D's leg that took place in that match. Wesley playing the ever-present babyface, saying, like, look, man, I told you privately, now I'm telling you publicly, I didn't want to win that way. I'm gonna take my shot now that I've got it, but I didn't want to win it that way. And Stax challenges Wesley to a match next week, and later on we find out that we are in fact going to get Stax versus Wesley next week, which is fine because Stax is going to get his ass kicked by Wesley, and that's just fine. Toxic Attraction versus Nikita Lyons and Zoe Starks for the #1 contendership to the Women's Tag Team Championships. We got a great sit-down video package with Caden Carter and Katana Chance. I wish she was still Casey Catanzaro, but it is what it is. Power game by the Faces and constant attempts to swat away the power game by Toxic Attraction. Toxic Attraction does instigate their typical like double team shady tactics type thing. Not as much because obviously Mandy Rose isn't there. They don't have the numbers advantage. Twisting GTS thing that Starks does and that awesome pin by Nikita Lyons gets the win. So we've got a really, really fun-loving babyface championship team taking on an also babyface team that's also a little bit more intense and hasn't nearly had as many opportunities because, you know, they were supposed to participate in the SmackDown thing that happened in Canada and they couldn't make it, and we don't really need to talk about it. But in the promo, they talked about Caden Carter and Katana Chance talked about they had respect for Zoe Stark, they had respect for Nikita Lyons, but they're two great individuals and they're not a team like us. So that will be the story going forward. I assume it's happening at Halloween Havoc. They weren't specific, which is also not that great. Switching from that to Ilya Dragunov in a pre-recorded video talking about being injured, losing the United Kingdom title, the fact that he lost it to injury and not to an opponent, and then watching that title go on to Tyler Bate, go on to be unified with the NXT Championship, and how he basically watched the NXT UK brand breathe its last breath while he was still recovering, and how shitty that was. Pretty much, and obviously this all rolls into his triple threat title shot at Braun Breaker with JD McDonough at Halloween Havoc. It's all good. The Grayson Waller effect is the best thing since Miz TV, and you can take that any way you want. It's a compliment. The fact that he does the picture-in-picture of himself is awesome. His guests are Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, and they do some really badly scripted, catty back and forth, which is kind of unfortunate. They use this show to announce that there's going to be a rematch between the two of them at Halloween Havoc. They bicker some more while Waller is being, like, extra on the picture-in-picture, like overreacting to everything that they're doing, saying, etc. And then he says, I'm going to take the opportunity on my show, The Grayson Waller Effect, to make two major announcements concerning you guys while you guys are still here. In 2 weeks on NXT, there's going to be a Pick Your Poison, where both of you have access to the entire WWE roster. Very specific, not the NXT roster, the entire WWE roster. So basically they're opening the door for more crossover, some more cross-promotion, which is awesome. Each of you is going to pick an opponent for your opponent at Halloween Havoc. And second off, they're going to do Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal at Halloween Havoc. Now he goes off to spin the wheel himself when they reveal the wheel. And that's not, I'm not trying to make really bad puns there, but they reveal the wheel and there's a druid by the wheel because it's Halloween Havoc, and of course there is. And he says, oh, why don't I just go spin the wheel right now? I'm Grayson Waller, I should be the one to do that. And he goes to the druid and he sort of like lifts up the one sleeve and sees that the druid is a white guy, so he knows that it's not Apollo Crews, which is, I will say, questionable, and it lands on Weapons Wild. Now, I'm not taking that as the announcement because nobody really asked Grayson Waller to spin the wheel, whether it was just him saying, hey, this is what's going to happen at the pay-per-view. But the girls brawl, and while he's trying to break up the girls from brawling on his show, he gets dragged under the ring by Apollo Crews, and when he crawls back out, all his clothes are comically ripped, and he's bleeding from the eyes. I like weird stuff. You guys have known this forever. I like the zombies that showed up for the Lumberjack match during COVID. I don't get what they're doing with Apollo Crews. And this is me. I'm jumping on board with all the Fiend lore and the White Rabbit and all that cool stuff that they're doing on the main roster. I have zero clue what they're doing with this Apollo Crews bleeding eyes thing. It's going to lead to a match at Halloween Havoc. It's going to be a make your eyes bleed match, I guess. We see Joe Gacy in the back with his schism and the mysterious hoodie for person in the red hood and the yellow tinted Scream mask, the yellow tinted Guy Fawkes mask, whatever it is. And I don't hear what they're saying because my TV skips. So if they were saying something important, I really don't know. Duke Hudson takes on Julius Creed because he was talking shit about Brutus Creed in the back because Brutus Creed's back is all bruised up because of an attack from Damon Kemp, and it's all... I tuned out for this a little bit. Creed squashes him in less than a minute. Brutus comes out to get some licks in after the match because he had promised not to be there during the match. Ivy Niles trying to keep him under control. His brother's trying to keep him under control. Damon Kemp from the what do you call it? The crow's nest thing above commentary. Basically, they talk a lot back and forth. But what it ends up being is Julius Creed, who just competed right now, is going to take on Damon Kemp in an ambulance match at Halloween Havoc, and if he loses, his brother's career is over. That's really dumb. Not gonna lie. We cut to a promo in the back. JD McDonough is watching a bunch of TV screens at once because maybe he's the SmackDown hacker. But no, he's analyzing his Halloween Havoc opponents, talking about how different and how similar they are, how basically they're going to try and prove how tough they are, and they're going to do so taking each other out. And he's going to be the smart guy that lets it happen, which is kind of good. He's sort of mediocre. I know people are saying, oh, they're trying once again to give somebody like a malicious sort of serial killer vibe. I don't think it's that serious. I think he's just explaining his tactics in a way that sounds a bit devious. I like JD McDonough. I like Jordan Devlin as a whole. When we first started hearing the rumors that they were getting rid of NXT UK, I was really glad to see that he came over, along with everybody else, Pretty Deadly, Gallus, Tyler Bate, etc., etc., etc. But he's mini Finn Balor, isn't he? He's Finn Balor without the demon and without Judgment Day. If they because this is another thing. This is where you can go crossing brands with storylines now, because Solo Sikoa is a bit of proof that factions on the main roster that are recruiting can recruit from NXT. So if the yes, they're related, I get it. But if the Bloodline can reach down into NXT and recruit Solo Sikoa, there's nothing to say that Finn Balor cannot reach back down into NXT, his home brand, and recruit JD McDonough, his trainee, to the Judgment Day. There's no reason they can't do that somewhere along the way, and he's already kind of in their mold, so that would kind of make sense. I'm going off on a tangent there, but WWE has been getting better, and it allows you to go on tangents, which is fine. We see Hank Walker, who's not a security guard anymore. He's a wrestler. Yay! Because Shawn Michaels became his friend in the back. And he's getting a pep talk from Quincy Elliott, and I'm leaving that alone. He's giving him a pep talk because Hank Walker's about to take on Zion Quinn. Quinn's kind of crazy. I like Zion Quinn. I don't know exactly what they're doing with him direction-wise, but he's the kind of guy that can throw you at the ground and convince everybody watching that he enjoyed throwing you into the ground, and he enjoyed when you hit the ground, and he enjoys now looking at you on the ground. Not to be undone either, but Hank Walker's a big fucking dude, so the way Zion Quinn was throwing him around should not go unnoticed. We got a small flurry from Hank, but Quinn gets the win, which is fine. Hank Walker is apparently somebody who has been performing on NXT Level Up, so he is a wrestler as he's playing this character that just became a wrestler. But if he is a well-trained wrestler, he's doing a good job of playing somebody that's still finding themselves, and that's not as easy. It's not as easy as it sounds. After the match, he's going to go lay a few more shots in on Hank, and Quincy comes in and stares him down, and Zion Quinn takes the opportunity to fuck off. Quincy and Hank sort of do a little fist bump thing, and then Quincy spanks him because reasons. We then move on to probably the stupidest moment in the entire show. It's Cameron Grimes, who's had his problems with Gacy and the dyad and the schism. And it's Gacy talking to the person in the hoodie that still has the mask on and telling him, basically giving him the pep talk, like, you can be your own person. You don't need to be with Joe and those guys and whatever. And the person just sits there, and Gacy and his friends come and beat the shit out of Cameron Grimes and welcome the new hooded figure into the schism. And I'm just like, you just really successfully made Cameron Grimes look like a real big dolt there, I'm not gonna lie. Go to the main event, Pretty Deadly versus the Brawling Brutes for the NXT Tag Team Championships for reasons. And it was a whole lot of the two of them being really goofy, Brawling Brutes doing what they do, coming out to the full version of their new entrance music, which is really, really cool. I really do like it the more I listen to it. Pete Dunne's doing the joint stuff, Rich Holland is doing the power game. They own them for quite a while, despite lots and lots and lots of heel tactics from the heels. And because we have to loop in the SmackDown story, Imperium run in, they trip up the Brawling Brutes. Pretty Deadly get the win. Kinda lame. The Imperium and the Brawling Brutes brawl out of the building, and sort of a show and tell of their tag team division is Malik Blade and Idris Sanofe showing up on the rampway and doing nothing, and Brooks Jensen and Josh Briggs showing up in the crow's nest and doing nothing as we go off the air. Sorry to say, I was enjoying the show. I don't want to blow it out of proportion. It wasn't a return to form. It wasn't classic black and gold NXT. Far from it. A couple of steps here and there in the right direction. Far from what I would like it to be, but enough of a step forward that I'm going to watch next week. This was a wet fart way to end the show. Jesus Christ. Here's the thing. Here's our guests that just are focused on more important thing than our tag team championships. And here's our division. 3 teams. That needs to be fixed. Don't break up the Creed brothers if these are the only other 3 teams yet. Oh, and Gallus did a video package earlier on in the night talking about how they're going to get the tag team titles again, and they're going to get the NXT title, so Braun Breaker better watch his back, and it's going to be Gallus boys on top, and it's just like, they haven't introduced you to the main roster of NXT very well. Not at all. This is the bottom floor. If we're treating this as NXT 3.0, if this is the newer version of NXT, I don't want them to keep renewing it. Just take it from where it is right now and move forward. But this is the bottom floor. This was a very acceptable bottom floor first episode. Gave me a couple things to latch onto. Gave me a couple things to say, okay, maybe they're doing this, but enough of the old goofy shit that it's just... So, what do we got? Let's look forward. What do we got so far for Halloween Havoc? We've got that weird thing with Julius Creed and Damon Kemp that I couldn't give a fuck about, if I'm completely honest. Caden Carter and Katana Chance taking on Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark for the tag titles. Should be a lot of fun. Casey Catanzaro and Nikita Lyons both get a lot of shit online for some shit that has nothing to do with wrestling, and that's not very cool, is it? Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez in what is right now being advertised as a Weapons Wild match, but I'm thinking that they're going to flip that around, and they're going to get to spin the wheel for themselves. The ladder match for the North American Championship, Oro Mensah, Carmelo Hayes, Wes Lee, Von Wagner, and either Axiom or Nathan Frazier should be really good. Axiom, Nathan Frazier next week will be fucking fantastic. And the main event is Braun Breaker versus JD McDonough versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT World. They're not even calling it the unified title. They've just like forgotten that the UK titles exist, which is fine, I suppose, because they're going to want us to forget NXT UK when NXT Europe starts up next year. So I don't even call that a bad... Like, Pretty Deadly didn't come out with both sets of titles. Mandy Rose hasn't come out with both sets of titles even once. So I think it's just slowly been tucked away in the back corner of the NXT history book, which is fine. Let me say this. They got rid of the rainbow shit, which is fine. We got longer matches than we were typically getting from NXT before, which is fine. It has to go up. If it stays here, I'm going to call it out for staying here. If it makes its way up, if Halloween Havoc is a good thing, sorry, as I ramble and stutter over my words there, let's all make fun of me for a second, it's fine. I take solace in the little tiny step of Halloween Havoc not being a weekly episode of NXT and actually being a proper Saturday premium live event, and I'll do the wavy Simon Miller hands. But that's a little tiny step in the right direction. One thing I will say about NXT 2.0, and I hope they keep it going with whatever we're calling this version of NXT now, they are a lot less shy these days about integrating the Raw and SmackDown talent with NXT to try and give everybody a bit of a boost. They let Solo Sikoa carry that belt onto SmackDown for 1 week. We put the Brawling Brutes in the Tag Team Championship picture on NXT for a week. They had the AJ Styles and Grayson Waller stuff a while ago. That was really good because it went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. So that was good. The Ziggler stuff, way back when Braun Breaker was just becoming a thing, was short-lived, but it worked. Ziggler is the I'll make everybody else look good guy. So that was fine. That is one thing that they didn't do too much of in Black and Gold that I wouldn't mind them continuing. So if I want to take a positive out of, 2.0, that would be it. Get me some NXT turnbuckles. That is how I'm going to finish off this episode. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you want me to keep doing NXT reviews on Tuesday/Wednesday morning and not have it just be part of my WWE Last Week series, let me know down in the box below. Let me know anything that you think of what I've said and what you thought of the brand new NXT. But until next time, until I have more voice and have a chance to talk to you guys once again after Extreme Rules at some point, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, not only am I tagging out, but potentially whisper it. We are NXT. Bye, guys.